You're watching TimesXP. I'm Driti Atri, and here are the biggest stories that are making headlines across the globe today. So let's start with it. Iran wedding sparks nationwide outrage. Well, a video went viral showing Ali Shamkhani, advisor to Iran's supreme leader, Mr. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, walking his daughter down the aisle. Well, she was wearing a sleeveless, strapless white gown, defying strict dress rules for ordinary Iranian women. Now here, citizens and activists, they are calling out the hypocrisy of Iran's elite enjoying freedom the public is denied. Elite privilege exposed in Iran. While ordinary women face harsh hijab enforcement, elites, they openly flaunt rules at luxury events. Well, the wedding had loud music, female guests without any headscarves, and yes, no sign of morality police. This double standard has intensified public anger and social media criticism. Mahsa Amini case still resonates now. Well, the crackdown on women continues after Mahsa Amini's death in police custody. Her death sparked nationwide protests over hijab enforcement and women's rights. And now, elite daughters, they openly defy the rule, the same rule that once sparked outrage. Iran plans 80,000 morality police. Well, the regime, it intends to deploy thousands of officers to enforce dress codes. Yet, elite families, they enjoy complete freedom, showing stark contradiction in governance. This move highlights the growing resettlement of ordinary citizens towards the double standard. Activists slam Iranian hypocrisy here. Mahsin Ali Nezad and others, they condemn elite families' flaunting of morality law. They call it a display of corruption and oppression in Iranian society. Well, the video has sparked renewed debates about accountability at the highest level now. Ali Reza, Akhondi's critic here, well, the Swedish-Iranian MP calls elite indulgence, fear, corruption, and not religion. He argues enforcement is selective, benefiting those in power while punishing the public over there. This statement, it echoes the growing frustration of Iranian citizens globally. Hamas issues bold warning. Abu Hamza al-Quds brigade spokesperson warned Israel and the US on live television. He emphasized that Hamas will not surrender weapons in any ceasefire deal. This statement, it signals defiance and readiness for political escalation. Al-Quds brigade role in Gaza here. Well, the brigades actively participated in Al-Aqsa flood operation. Their involvement is being highlighted to showcase Hamas's military strength. Now, this strategic messaging is aimed at both their supporters and their adversaries. Gaza conflict remains unstable, while recent Israeli operations have increased pressure on Hamas in Gaza. International mediators continue pushing for a ceasefire and humanitarian reliefs. In the meantime, Hamas's refusal to disarm complicates the effort to destabilize the entire region. Netanyahu declares Israel independent. That's right, Israel will not act as a US protectorate, says Netanyahu publicly. In fact, he stressed that Israel will prioritize its security and strategic interest. Now, the statement surprised the US officials and it kinda drew international attention as well. US reacts to Israel's statement here. Vice President Mr. J.D. Vance, he highlighted the importance of a strong US-Israel alliance. He avoided the direct disagreement while maintaining the diplomatic balance. Now, this moment, it exposed subtle tensions in bilateral policy and strategy. Gaza ceasefire talk continue. Netanyahu and the US officials, they discuss enforcement and Hamas disarmament. Israel aims to control operations while operating with international mediators, and in the meantime, the negotiation revealed the complexity of maintaining the peace in the region. Israel rejects Turkish troops in Gaza. That's right, Netanyahu firmly blocked any Turkish involvement in Gaza post-war plans. Erdogan's previous support for Hamas, it fueled Israel's distrust. In the meantime, Israel insists that only full disarmament and vetted forces may operate in Gaza. Palestinian Authority forces rejected. Israel also denies the involvement of security forces trained by Egypt or maybe Jordan. Now, the decision, this particular one, it underscores Israel's strict control on Gaza security now, In fact, the regional partners and mediators, they may need to revise their own plans. Turkey's air power concern here, Erdogan seeks Eurofighter Typhoons and second-hand jets just to strengthen Turkey's air force. He fears that failing behind Israel's growing air dominance in the region is going to cost them very big. Air power is central to Turkey's security and strategic balance as well. F-35 program obstacles here. Turkey remains excluded from US F-35 sales due to the past S-400 purchases. Ankara continues lobbying for access to modern aircraft from the allies. This reflects broader concern about regional military parity with Israel. South China Sea tensions rise. Well, a Chinese jet flew dangerously close to an Australian surveillance aircraft. In the meantime, Australia, they kind of accuse China of reckless aggression over international waters. And on the other hand, there is Beijing. Beijing claims that Australian planes provoked the incident, increasing regional friction. Trump comments on Pacific security. He vowed to send nuclear submarines into the Pacific. He framed the move as protecting freedom of navigation and countering China. Now, this heightened the stakes in an already tense Indo-Pacific region. US narco-terror strike in Pacific, where a suspected drug-running boat off Colombia was targeted, killing 2 people. The US officials linked the cartels to terrorist network like Al-Qaeda. Now, this whole operation is part of a larger war or narco-terror strategy of the US. Regional tensions with Latin America. Neighboring countries express concern over US militarization of coastal waters. Some victims may be civilians or maybe the crew member, raising the ethical questions here. Well, the strike could escalate tensions with Venezuela, Nicaragua, and others. Mass Israeli immigration here. 125,000 plus Israelis have left the country since 2022. Well, the political chaos, economic pressure, and security concern are cited as main reasons here. The trend, it raises concern about a potential brain drain and national morale. Citizens losing faith in the government. Surprising? Not really. Many families are relocating to Europe, the US, or maybe the UAE for better stability. The judicial overhaul and the ongoing protests contributed to the whole situation. Here, experts warn Israel risks losing its skilled workforce and international credibility as well. Iran exposes alleged Mossad agents. State TV revealed names, photographs, and even addresses of alleged Israeli spies. In fact, journalists and activists, they are accused of working to influence the global opinion. In the meantime, human rights groups warn that the exposure endangers innocent people. Tehran signals intelligence power here. Iran demonstrates its ability to track and counter Mossad operations. This is seen as retaliation for prior alleged Israeli attacks and cyber operations as well. The move projects power and sends a very strong signal to Israel and the West. IRGC warns the US and Israel. Any attack on Iran will face unimaginable destruction. Well, this is what their chief said. Iran highlights missile and drone capabilities as a deterrent. The statement, it comes amid the heightened tensions after Khamenei's comments on Trump. Joint Iran-Iraq border security. Well, a new security committee will monitor militant groups and foreign troop activity. Well, both the countries aim to prevent external interference near the border. This move, it strengthened Iran's regional control and defense posture. UAE issues red line to Israel now. Annexation of Palestinian land is unacceptable. That's what Anwar want. The UAE, it stresses that the peace cannot come at the cost of Palestinian freedom here. Now, this marks a stronger stance from the Arab nation towards Israel. Gaza humanitarian aid from UAE. Well, Abu Dhabi pledges medical teams, supplies, and the on-ground support. Hundreds of tons of food, medicine, everything, they have already been delivered. In fact, the UAE positions itself as a moral voice in the Middle East diplomacy. Hamas stops public execution. That's right, Arab mediators push Hamas to halt execution just to avoid conflict to spill over. Execution threatened to derail the ceasefire talks and worsen the Gaza unrest. In fact, some local tribes, they are forming armed resistance, highlighting internal tensions here. Fragile peace in Gaza. Hamas faces criticism for turning Gaza into a police state. Arab nations urge modernization to preserve the ongoing ceasefire agreement, and any misstep, actually, it can reignite new violence, making peace extremely fragile. Well, that's a wrap up for our 30 news bulletins from around the globe. From Gaza to Venezuela, from Iraq to China, tensions are rising and stakes are high. So, let's hope for peace and light to guide the troubled nations. In the meantime, stay tuned with TimesXP for continuous updates. I'm Driti Atri, keeping you informed on every single news that matters the most.